Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.
You're watching Conversations with Jennylyn, and me and my team are back. You know, I keep on getting this question. Are you guys ever going to be done? And I think between Erik, Mel, and I, we are starting to realize we're just beginning. We are done probably with the reason we started. But when it comes to being done, when we are, we'll tell you. But for now, it's a work in progress, and every week we are being presented with different challenges that are all a part of the divine design. At least that's what we figured out. And so before I bring Erik and Mel onto this interview, someone said this week, and I wrote it down. I thought it was quite profound, especially in context of what we share here every week and how out there it is. And this is what she said: do not trade your intuition for the knowledge of the screen. And I thought that was so brilliant. Do not trade your intuition for the knowledge of the screen. And what I got from that is she is saying, when your gut is telling you something that is contrary to what is coming in on your screen, do not ignore your gut. And if you've been following a lot of what I put out there, I constantly say that what the majority of what comes off the screen is controlled propaganda. And I really believe this because I've done the research. I've gone down what I call the rabbit hole. And so I am convinced that what I'm saying when it comes to that being controlled propaganda, it's true for me. So I'd like to start there. And tonight we're going with the flow, as we tell you every week. It's not enough time to share all that's gone on. And tonight I'm just going to guide it and let Erik and Mel table the topics that they're being told we should share.
So one thing that I want you talked about the rabbit hole. So I want to. So rabbit hole is probably one of those words that's highly overused, and you can tie it to like conspiracy theories. So I want to use a different word for that, because what we're experiencing are not conspiracies; that they're part of our spiritual being, and so eliminating a word that can be misconstrued to paint a negative picture on what we do or what other people like us do, because we're not the only ones, and we really want to bring some of that, a little bit of that awareness to what we do, where instead of it being rabbit holes and just going off into these new like make believe mushroom infested adventures, like what some people probably think. It's not like that. I am 100% a clear-headed person all the time. I do not utilize any foreign substances in my body. I'm as pure as can get. I work out daily. I stay in the top physical shape that I can possibly be in. So I pride myself on my physical and my mental health. And those are two big things for me. And I want people to understand that we all three of us come from different kinds of backgrounds. And when you look at our backgrounds, we might not have a whole lot in common. So that just shows you how strong the realms are and the dimensions are, and the spirit of humankind is, to where you can take people from three different backgrounds and bring them together under the spirit world. And now we work very well as a team, and we kind of, the stars kind of align for us to where we each have our own little strength that we can kind of where one of us isn't as good, the other one can jump in and take care of things. So I don't want to say that we've been lucky, because I don't think luck has anything to do with it. I think it's been written. So now when we look at, I can sit here and talk about this stuff all day, but when we look at in the biblical sense of things, in the book of Revelations, it talks about that when things start to go a little haywire in the world, and I don't want to say too many doomsday words because I'm not sure, but they say that our ability to see things is enhanced. And I think that we all pose this ability. It's whether or not you can personally allow yourself to tap into it. And I've been lucky to where I've been able to tap into it, a long time ago. I just didn't realize how much I could tap into it until just recently. And I think it could probably be said the same for Mel and Jennylyn too. And I believe that everybody has this ability. So I hope that you all don't write us off, because at one time I didn't, this was all a fairy tale to me. And then boom, one day it was there, and I haven't been able to stop seeing it since. So that's my spiel for the day.
Thank you, Erik. So well said. In fact, I'm going to start the video with that. And you, Mel?
Well, I've done a lot of talking today, so I won't take long. But yeah, I think, I like the way he just, spoke and what he talked about with regard to, using words and not looking at us in a way that is strange. Because to be honest, and you said this before, we don't really care. We don't mind if others look at us as quirky or strange. We know what it is that we experience. We know it exists, and we're doing it. And one day, hopefully, your audience will too, in some shape or form. Not in this regard. I hope that they don't have to deal with that kind of stuff. But there are many other beautiful and wonderful spiritual things a person can experience without being threatened. And I hope that everyone is able to step into that part of themselves, or tap into that part of themselves. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Mel and Erik, I couldn't put it better than the two of you. But what I would like to add to it is you and I and all of us, I'm told, are born with these gifts, and they have been deliberately suppressed. Because if everyone were to step in to this power that we all have, if we all were to harness it, then nobody would be able to control us. And so there has been a dark agenda in order to keep us controlled as a species, that somehow from birth, our pineal gland, it has been closed off. Because I think when it's open, that's when we are aware that we have these abilities. And like Erik said, we are not the only ones in the world dealing with this type of a battle and dealing with these types of situations, but we were the ones that were told to put it on the World Wide Web. And that's why weekly we come on here and share in its raw, authentic unfolding, or the way we experience it, exactly the way we have, unless Spirit tells us we can't. We tell you the truth. And like Mel said, we are not quirky, but if you want to think I'm quirky, be my guest. So Mel, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
And Erik, welcome back.
I'm happy to be here.
You know what's really weird when I welcome you guys? In the back of my mind, I'm going, but this morning we were on the phone for 2.5 hours. So if you're watching us I am welcoming them on your behalf who is watching, because so much goes on during the week that we are constantly on the phone during the week. So it's not like we need to welcome each other. I feel like I live in the same house with them. So Mel, you take the reign and let's see where your guides are telling you we should begin today.
Okay, well, putting me on the spot again. No, just kidding. Um, where do we begin? I'm trying to actually, when I come on here, I'm always kind of just going freely. There's no script here, as you know, and your viewers have already discovered. So we're kind of like playing it as we go along. And what I think one big thing that we wanted to add this week is that there was there was a different figure that was involved, which took up some parts of this week, uh, both Eric and I. And this is kind of what happened, is that I don't know the exact date, to be honest with you. It happened sometime last weekend or early in the week. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Wicked Witch of the West that we've been talking about, right, was sort of disabled. That's the best way I can describe it. Okay. And I'm not talking physically, obviously. I'm talking spiritually, energetically. She was disabled or prevented from continuing what she was doing. Now, how long this is going to last, I do not know. I do not know if this is permanent, but it certainly was something that happened, because we always know when we are successful because somebody else steps in lieu of that person. So you know that that's what's happening. They don't hand over the baton until they can't do it themselves anymore. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but I think we did at some point in one of the other videos, but the other shows that you've made, is that there was one time where the Wicked Witch of the West, and that's what I call her, okay, she had called an emergency meeting. And that emergency meeting, why do I know that she called an emergency meeting? Because I was able to tap into the ethers. For some reason, I was meant to hear that. It was one of those times where I was working with her energy, and all of a sudden, I could hear her speak to one of the other witches, the underlings, if you so will, and she was asking to go someplace to call upon another person to call in this emergency meeting. And this other person I thought or felt was male. And as it turns out, that's exactly what it was. We have received confirmation that upon her being disabled, this particular male stepped into the picture and started to take over the attacks and all of that stuff that started to happen with you. And we know exactly also, Jennylyn, that somebody else is doing it, because the manner in which these attacks are taking place is different. And they all have their own kind of spin on things. They do things differently. You know right away when somebody else is doing something, right? And you said that too. And that's how we knew. That's how we knew that it was someone else. We had to go tap in to see who it was, but we knew it was someone else. So that, I don't know if you want to say something.
Yes, I was just going to insert. Mel was with a client, and Eric and I just happened to be having a conversation. And I go, oops, Eric, I think I'm being attacked. And he goes, and I said, but I think it's the Wicked Witch. And then I said, no, 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 because hers happens in my chest. It starts first with like this fire in my chest that emanates to other parts of my body. But this is coming in my lower back. And I think it's Dutchman, because he normally will go to my back and different parts, like my ear and my head. Isn't that weird that I know who's attacking me based on where the attacks are coming? This is insane, guys, but it's true. So Eric and I are talking, and Eric says, let me look. And he looked, but Erik doesn't really wasn't always the one dismantling this, although he's helped a ton when Mel is not available. We couldn't figure out who it was because it was different. And I knew it wasn't Dutch man because that morning, Mel beheaded 4 of them in the spiritual realm. And she goes, "Oh my God, they're showing me 4 heads on 4 different posts." And I said, "I'm going in with my dragon and I'm going to torch those heads because I want to make sure they cannot be reconnected." So I knew it couldn't be Dutchman because that morning his head was stuck on a post and I torched it. So Mel, you can tell. So eventually Erik and I couldn't figure out what it is, and it started to get very intense. And then when Mel was finished with her meeting, I text her and go, "Mel, we're having a massive attack," and then she joined us. So Erik, if you want to share I don't know if you remember what you saw while we were having the conversation, and I told you I was being attacked.
The initial time that I was made aware of this, we were talking, and whilst we were talking, I was trying to like get in and see, and I couldn't see anything. And so I just kept trying to look, and then finally I gave up. And then that's when Jennylyn said, "Hey, can you take a look?" And I thought, okay, I'm going to look again. And that's when I saw this like cloaked figure, and he was just standing off, like he had Jennylyn sitting in a chair, and she was bound to the chair, like her arms were tied behind her back. She was tied to the chair. And so I started to approach this being because I was going to try to communicate with it. That was my plan. I wanted to make sure that if I did something that I wouldn't harm Jennylyn in the process. So I wanted to feel out what he was trying to do. So I didn't even get a talk. As soon as I walked up, he pulls out a sword, and then I remember stepping back going, "Okay, this is what you want to do." And we had like a real quick, little battle, and then I got out. And because I had realized that this entity was extremely skilled, and it wasn't going in there with just some brute force wasn't going to work. So that was basically the gist of that time. And then, I just kind of told her, I'm like, "Hey, whatever this is really, really skilled."
So Mel comes into the picture.
Yeah. So actually, I was working on assisting you with this particular entity or this person. And just for the record, full reptilian as well. Okay. So this is kind of like the Wicked Witch of the West, but also in male form, a full reptilian that is in human form. Okay. So just so we understand that.
Can I say one thing, Mel? Because I think my viewers need to hear this. Mel was told this person's, can we say his name?
No.
Okay. But we were told that this person had killed hundreds of people. And I hope we can say that.
Yes. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yes. Okay, that's all I wanted people to know.
Yeah. So anyhow, so this particular, I knew, and I've interestingly enough, years ago, I actually had a run-in with this particular person on a different matter. Okay, and the cloaked figure, and I recognized who he was. Now I didn't have to engage. It was more like, okay, here I am, and he sort of tried to convince. He sort of tried to offer something. That's all I will leave it at. But anyhow, so this particular person, I had no prior experience with how he works. So when I went into your vessel to try to clear you before I went after the source, I noticed that what I was doing didn't take hold. I couldn't find, like, it wasn't making a difference. I was pulling things out, but it wasn't making a difference. And whenever there's something like this, you just not remember, Dutchman had a very, very, very clever way of doing things. Okay. For instance, he had the ability to create sub-realities in which he put you in, or create, spells in a different realm, in a different time. Okay, so, and I thought, well, maybe that's what I'm looking at here. Maybe this guy does the same kind of thing. But it turns out, and what I was told as I'm tuning is that he is actually a master illusionist. Okay, which was a difference. So what I found as I was going in was that he presented himself, 10 of them. 10 of him were there over sudden. And sort of he multiplied. So in other words, as to, you don't know if you attack or go after one, if this is the real one, right? This is the illusion. It's to create an illusion. But what he didn't take into account, one of the things is that, I'm tapped in and I observed the different versions, and they were really tiny bits. And I asked my spirit team, and there were tiny bits of giveaways, that subtle giveaways that, you really wouldn't catch unless you're tapped into the energy. And I recognized those, and I took measures to take that particular version down. And it happened to be the right one, because right at that moment, you were like, oh my gosh, it's easing up, right? It's easing up. You got the right thing. But sure enough, shortly thereafter, it was back on. And I thought to myself, what's going on here? Why does this keep going, right? And this is the funny part. You're not going to believe this. I thought that was the funniest thing, but also the most incredible thing I've ever heard. My spirit team said that when he does this, he actually not only creates an illusion. Well, here, okay, I have to backtrack. I'm sorry. I am going ahead of myself. So I had to remember, I always go to the source. So I went to the source. Then I was looking for, okay, how come I cannot, she's not feeling the difference in me pulling the energy or relieving that from her body, right? So turns out that he didn't create that feeling or that pain within your physical vessel, but he created it elsewhere. Okay, he created it outside, because my spirit team sort of took a needle and went into your body and goes, poof, you see that? It's not there. And I was like, well, then where is it? Like I've never seen it before. Dutchman used to put it in your vessel. I used to pull it from your vessel. Here, there's this guy has nothing in your vessel. Okay, he creates it someplace else and projects that feeling into your physical vessel. So I'm like, okay, show me where it is. So I saw it where it is. So I took that down right away, pretty right away, because I could locate it. He didn't think I was able to locate it, but that's not it. What's really, really fascinating about this, and I still shake my head about it, and you were laughing at this too, is that it was gone briefly, but then it started up again. And I said, well, what's going on with this, right? And they were telling me that he has a backup. I said, what do you mean a backup? And he says, well, think of it like an iCloud. There's a version of what you just took down in a different place that is exactly the same, that if you take this down, this starts. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I've never heard of anything like this before. So I said, show me. So I actually went into this a space that he had created. It was a bunch of mirrors. And I'm like, I hope I can find this thing. And they're like, oh, yes, it's not a big deal, because nobody ever gets to that point. So you shouldn't have a problem finding it. It was literally right there. It was just but I took that down, and that helped. But clearly the man wasn't down for the count. Okay, he wasn't. And actually what happened is when, the time that we actually got to him completely and fully is when Erik and I worked together at that time, because that happened a little bit later, is that, Erik went in and he saw that you sitting on the chair, and if I remember correctly, Erik, I don't think you could get to him fully either at some point in time. There was something around Jennylyn that prevented you from getting to her. And I said to the universe, okay, so, Erik's going to do something, but whatever I need to do, let me do this, okay, so that I can assist him. And let's just put this way, all of a sudden, and this is all this all takes place in the supernatural world, okay? We see these things in our third eye. We do these things energetically. I had a spear all of a sudden in my hand. I don't throw spears. I didn't know what kind of spear it was, but it was given to me by the divine. So, and I was told to throw it. Now, I was hoping that it was gonna not miss its target, and it didn't. But after I threw the spear, um, Erik then was able to go in. Oh, I think this was actually. I think I'm getting the two mixed up. No, yes, Erik was able to go in then and take him down.
This was the next day.
This was
Because the night when we discovered him,
Gotcha.
you were trying and trying. We couldn't figure out because you kept saying, you kept taking it down, but I kept saying, but I don't feel any change. And I could tell you were like, what do you mean? I'm pulling it out. And so then I said, oh my God, I think we need Erik's help. So I text Erik, Erik, are you free? We need help. And we never heard from Erik because Erik was tied up with the work project and never got our text. So that night was a night from hell because this guy came at me all night, and Mel did everything she could, and she thought that she had at least made it to where I could get through the night. But the minute Mel and I said goodbye, it's like the whole army of them came at me. And so for the entire night, I was in battle with them. And of course, I used my dragon power to help myself the little I could. Um, and then the next day, Mel and I were talking on my way to work because she checked in and I told her what happened. So she went back to look again. And that's when she discovered he had the stuff stored in a cloud. I remember driving to work laughing so hard that I could see people in other cars looking at me like, what is she laughing at? But I couldn't believe that this person could actually store in the spiritual world. You could put stuff on the cloud. It just knocked me over. And so Mel kept working. And then as I was driving, I go, Mel, I'm being told to tell you, go to the brain. And I'm getting interference the second time. So someone is listening to us. But I said to Mel, my guides are telling me you need to go to the brain because you have access to the brain. And that's where you have to deal with this one. Now, I'm not sure if Mel's allowed to talk about that here, but she did go and it kind of calmed things down so that I could go to work. But during the day, I messaged them and said, I need help. Unfortunately, Erik had taken the day off work and Mel was free and at my desk at work. The next part of this, maybe, Erik, this is when somehow Mel made a breakthrough and Erik got in. And this is at work yesterday. So, Erik, I'll let you take it from here. Because after Mel removed the veil enough for you to get in to where you could access him.
Yeah. So when you contacted me and I was actually not doing anything. So I was like, okay, it gives me something to do. And so I went in and I could see the entity and I could see Jennylyn again. But there was this big, like, kind of almost like a hazy, like I could see through it, but it was dark. It was a dark, like, wall around the entity and Jennylyn. And I kept trying to get through it and it wouldn't let me. And that's when I said, look, there's a wall and I can't get to Jennylyn. And that's when Mel had thrown the spear. And then all of a sudden the wall went like it went half down. And then I could see him and I could see he was wounded. And so I jumped over the rest of the little tiny piece of the wall that was left. And then I had went into my angelic form, which I ended up having like an eagle head, which I've never had before. So I was like, kind of like, oh, I'm an eagle now. And so I jumped in there and I pulled my sword out and it was on fire. And I come in with as much of my angelic energy as I possibly could. And I just engulfed the entity. He had his sword out, but there was nothing he could do. I had him cut in half and then I bit his head off with my bird beak. And that was
that out.
Yeah. I didn't want to be too graphic. It was very gruesome.
Well, if you're watching this show, you're probably shaking your head like all three of us can be nuts. There's nothing that we are sharing here that we've concocted. I mean, think about it. This really happened. This is really happening. And then they asked me, how are you feeling? And I said, it's a little bit better, but I'm still getting poked. And if we have time, we'll share what happened with the black woman tonight before we wrap up. The woman whose skin is black, because I can't say black woman. Anyway,
Too late, you already did.
so I decided to take a picture because they said, "What's behind you?" So I'm sitting at my desk and I took a picture of myself and I took the name of my company out of the picture, but I'll put what I was able to capture. And I sent the picture to them to show them because I said, there's something behind me. There's someone standing behind me. Who is it? And they didn't know who it was, but I knew someone was behind me. And so then I sent them the picture, and they both looked at the picture and they go, "Oh, we don't see anything." And then Eric goes, "What's that gold circle around? What's that gold circle in the bottom of the picture?" Remember that, Eric?
Yep.
And then Mel says, "Oh my God, that's an angel. That's an angel standing behind you." And I will show you guys in the pictures. I'll show you the comparisons. And so while all of this was happening, there were angels or an angel present at my desk at work, protecting me during all of this. It's funny that you guys didn't see it though. Because you were in the war, you were in the bin, in the war tank.
Right. I didn't see it, but I kind of knew. I was like, well, turn around and look. You kept feeling it. I'm like, well, turn around and look. Maybe you'll see it.
I turned around and I looked, I saw nothing. So I took the picture to see if you guys would see. And that's when you both said, both of you told me that I had an angel behind me. And so we got that one down, at least for now. And then last night, I came home, and again, the three of us are on the phone. We spent a lot of time on the phone. No, it was Eric and I, because we were talking about something else. And Mel was working. And while we were working last night, again, I go, "Eric, something is attacking me again." And I said, and it's not Nathan, because he comes at my back. This is coming into my chest again, like the Wicked Witch. But I know it can't be her. Her head is on a pole. So who is it? And so between you and I, we couldn't figure it out. So I text Mel, "When you're through with your appointment, if you're not too tired, please join us because I am having another attack and Eric and I cannot figure out who it is." So then Mel, tell us what happened when you came on.
Well, I have this thing that I've mentioned before that I can trace energy. It's like, I don't just sense energy, but I can trace it. When I ask, I can trace it back to where it's from. Okay, where it came from, where it originated from, which allows me to, take on some of the things that I've done in your case, because otherwise it kind of would be lost. That's part of the important part. So anyhow, you were attacked by something again, which felt a little different, right? A little bit different. And so I was like, show me, trace it back. And it went completely. I was expecting it to go out west to California again, to the LA region, but no, it went across the pond. It went over the Atlantic Ocean and it went straight to Belgium. And I said to you, this is coming from Belgium. And you were like, what? Now, for purposes, if Holland or the Netherlands, where Dutchman is pretty close or right next to it, connects to Belgium. So maybe we thought that was the case, but I didn't feel as though he was involved. Okay. I didn't feel his energy in any shape or form. This was somebody else. And after checking in with my spirit team, I was told that this really wasn't orchestrated by him. But again, this is this typical thing again that we always see. You know, the Wicked Witch of the West went down, then this other energy and entity came in, right? Now that Erik took that one out, and now it's someone else again. You see, this. So just for clarification, okay, we are doing things to your viewers. It's just that they seem to be replaced with other things, and so I've actually checked with my spirit team earlier whether or not I can sort of talk about what it is that I found. And if you're okay with this, I'm going to go.
Of course.
Yeah. So I asked, okay, who is this? And I got that it was a female, okay? And I got the word initiate. Okay, she was an initiate of something. I wasn't told what, but she was an initiate of something. And that's how we left it while we're on the phone. So that's how we, hung up. Now, but this morning, I, was doing my sort of meditative stuff in the morning, drinking my coffee. I kind of do all of my things. And then all of a sudden, it's coming in. Information is coming in, and I'm being drawn to you, and I'm being drawn to your case, and I'm going to Belgium, and I'm being shown. Well, actually, I'm not being shown. I'm being sort of told, okay, with the energy there, that this initiate, okay. I said, okay, what is this? She initiate for? And the words that were given to me, great mother. Now, if for those who potentially have gone down the rabbit hole, great mother is also used a synonym for dark mother. And those who are still familiar with the conspiracy, actually Belgium has a castle there that it has the reputation or being called the Mother of Darkness Castle, okay, which is set to have been used for satanic ritualistic purposes by the organization that begins with an I. There were some awful things that's supposed to go on there. So Belgium is known for this a little bit. Okay, it's got So this it was on my radar right from the beginning when I was drawn there, when it was told that it went there, but I didn't know where. So I don't know. It is okay. Ooh, all right. Well, I guess it is. They're telling me that the Mother of Darkness Castle, even though it's supposedly no longer in use, is involved in this. This is where they do their initiate rituals. Okay. Now, to make a long story short, this morning I got more information about it. So just so your audience can follow, my next question was, okay, where's this? Where? What do I do with this information? I hear, pay attention to the one who directs. And I said, well, who's directing? Okay, these initiates to do this kind of magic to you, right? And I was told, Italy, and then I was told the word Orsini. Okay, now I'm not Italian, so if I sound Italian, that's just because the way they want me to pronounce it. I don't know why. This is the weirdest thing. But the word Orsini. Now, Orsini is actually a last name of a specific family that is very well known in the. How do I say this without saying the word? In the circles of the I. Okay, it's a very powerful family who is very well known to have been involved in these kinds of things, okay, including satanic stuff. Okay, that's all I will leave it at. Now, I was a little taken aback. I was like, well, why on earth are we talking about this? Because how do we get from little old, over here?
Sandra Tong.
Yes. to powerful families and the people in Belgium. How do we even get here? Okay, and here's what I was told. I was told that after Erik took him down, took the guy with the hood down. Somehow that information was given in it's circled inside the organization. Okay, and he was very high up. He was a powerful player. Okay, so I don't think he has ever been touched. He's never been touched. So Erik, He has never been.
You took down the big bad one, the big bad wolf.
No, it is. So apparently, so that caught the eye of those in the organization, and they're like, wait a minute, what's happening here? And that's how it went. So they communicate amongst each other, and so it went to Belgium and to these initiates. And now the way I have to describe this is in order for people to understand the initiates for the a dark mother. They even want me to say dark mother. That's what it is. The initiates for the to become a dark mother. A dark mother is basically a high-level witch who has to compete for that title in many various ways. And when she actually is then the final one who is selected, she will then reign over certain parts of the world. She's then, given a certain part of the world. All right. There are two in the United States on the East and the West. Okay. So, and there are other ones in other countries. So that's just how that works. Now, and these initiates are sort of been tasked with trying to take a shot at you, see who can do something, okay, as part of their initiate process. The one thing that I did hear, though, and this is very interesting, is that the one who directs knows that none of them will be able to do it, which I thought was very interesting.
Wait, stop. Can you say that again? She knows that none of them can take me down.
Correct. And because of the powerful, person that Erik just took down, and that our ability to do that. So basically, in other words, is that if we can take him down, we can take them down. It's so the comparison between the two is being made, and they anticipate that none of their initiates can do the job fully, but yet they do want them to do that to see which will fare the best and so forth. This is kind of like a game they're playing almost. I feel sorry for these initiates, if you so will, even though they're the ones who are choosing to do this. Okay. And I'm told that these initiates also are human. They're human beings, and they're all female, by the way. They're all female. They're women. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, and I will say this here, I'm being reminded of this. I was given a name for the one who directs, and I was confused at first, and the name was Luigi Orsini. Now, anybody who knows the first name Luigi knows it's male, right? But I was told that the one who directs is a female. And I was confused, but I kept hearing Luigi Orsini. And I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. Tell me a little bit more. And so I sat with it, and I went through different questions, and then it came down to, oh my goodness, Luigi and this female are the same. Now, I'm going to take it a step further. Not that this is already blowing people's minds, okay? But in the community of these people in the eye, it is said, I haven't gone down that rabbit hole, but I've heard that oftentimes, a lot, okay, a lot, I'm being told a lot, the families will reassign the gender of the children that they're born within the organization, okay, to those parents. And that is done early on, okay? So, in other words, Luigi is not really Luigi. Luigi lives as a female, but he's not transvestite. He's not a drag queen. He's not transgender. He's what we call, and I had to look this up, some people refer to those kinds of people as free martins. And free martins we're not talking about the cows here, okay? We're talking about human beings. Those are actually, they are converted into the other gender, either in utero already, often, okay, woo, all right. I don't know how this works, or early on in childhood. So Luigi is maybe, is now living a different life under a female, being a female. And again, this is his prerogative. I don't really care about that. But it's really interesting that this isn't his choice. He wasn't given that choice. he was assigned this gender. And he, I'm going to refer to him as a he, because to me he's a he. He's directing those initiates. Again, the Orsini family is one of the big families in the organization, the I, that run, you know, you can go down that run the world.
They have produced 3 popes in their bloodline.
Keep on going. You can say, I have no idea.
Tell us what you found out. Erik he's a researcher.
Yes.
I can tell you that this is a very, very old bloodline. Like 900 AD is when they first recorded popping this family up. So it's very, very old. They have acquired a massive amount of wealth over their time and a massive amount of influence pretty much throughout, mainly just anything in the Vatican and Rome. The Orsinis own it.
Wow. So they own the Vatican?
I mean, they don't directly, but they pretty much do.
Wow, and guess what, guys? They've got me on their radar. Did you know that I'm an international fugitive?
Yep.
I don't know how I got there, but based on what Erik and Mel are telling me, Erik, what did you say? I was born powerful. I had no clue. None. So that means nothing to me, guys. If it's power for good and light, I'm all on board. And that's the only kind of power I want. But I have to believe it because of the amount of energy that the dark side is investing in me. I mean, as soon as Mel and Erik take one down, they bring out their next big fish. And here I am, just little old me, going about my life completely clueless. But this is the point of this interview, where I'm going to make this announcement. Whoever is directing the dark traffic that's coming at me, I do not fear you. And you cannot take me down. And you're attacking me right now. I am getting your attack right now. But I have stepped into my dragon power. And you know this. So don't send those idiots my way, because they'll be coming back to you in smoke. And that's it. That's what I want to say. I am not the girl who will curl up in pain dependent on Erik and Mel anymore. They've been training me on how to use the gifts that I've been sitting on. And I am well trained and ready. So you bring them all, and if we took the big guns down, you know what's going to happen to these. So Erik, I wanted you look like you have some more hot information off the press for us.
No, I got stuck in a rabbit hole with the Orsini family.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Oh, and by the way, Erik, do you want to share about your attack or no?
I mean, yeah, I can.
Okay, why don't you tell us what happened to you? So just so you know, so you guys get the picture, I am not the only one getting attacked. They can't touch Mel, as you all know. So they went after Erik.
So it was Friday night. Yeah. Thursday night. It was Thursday night.
That's the same night we were trying to get a hold of you. We couldn't get you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was doing just regular household stuff. I was doing laundry and I was walking to put some clothes away, and I had felt something behind me, and then I blacked out, and then I just fainted, and I woke up on the floor, and I just remember going, whoa, like something just attacked me from behind. And then I had to, I first called my assistant and was like, hey, I just got attacked by something. And she was like, I'm going to be right there. I'm coming. I said, no, I'm fine. I said, I don't think it's something that is in this world. So, which she had a tough time understanding that part.
I can imagine. And so Eric said he went to Walgreens, he went and had all his vitals checked, and he's fine.
Yeah. My blood pressure was fine, everything. I'm normal. Which is weird because I forgot to tell you this, Jennylyn, but probably 2 months ago, I went to the eye doctor and they told me just by my retinal scans that I had high blood pressure, and they told me to go get checked out. But then I went and got checked out and I was fine. So I don't know. Something weird's going on, but I got attacked and I wasn't, that's the first time that's ever happened to me. So I was a little confused. I was like, okay, now I have to start paying attention, like be cautious of the energy of everything every time I go into a room now, because that way I can hopefully feel it ahead of time.
So I know people watching this show are going to be looking at me like, Jenny, oh my gosh, now look what you did to Eric. He's getting attacked. Eric, do you think that this is happening because of me?
No, I think I have my hands in so many other different things. It's hard to tell where it came from, and that's why we have Mel who can backtrace these things, and that she kind of has a beat on where it came from, and I'm pretty sure that it didn't come from you, Jennylyn, that this came from somewhere else. But I tend to pick fights, so it can come from anywhere in the world, most likely.
Now, can we tell them where you traced Eric's attack back to? Or is that something we can't share?
It's up to Eric. It's not my call. My spirit team doesn't care.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
Right. Well, we were talking and you were mentioning this, and immediately I thought, well, let me go tune in, and I saw this entity behind you, like because there's no space and time. So basically, even if it isn't happening right then and there at that very moment, you can go into any space and time, future, past, especially past. I'm not so known into the future. I haven't really done that, but the past mostly, and then just see what happened or what's going on. And I saw this big dark entity behind them, and I don't know exactly what it did, but I connected with its energy, and I said, okay, show me where you come from. And I was going all the way across toward the west, and I ended up in Missouri and in St. Louis, Missouri. And you made some connections when I told you Missouri, and I told you the city. You were able to sort of make some connections, or at least what you thought potentially it could be. So there you go. I mean, yeah.
So, guys, if you're watching this show, I'm sure it's quite entertaining. We are entertained. I mean, the good thing is, strange as this is, and tough as it is on me, we laugh a lot. And if it weren't for the laughter, this whole thing would have taken on another really melancholy, dark spin, because none of it is fun. But God couldn't give me two better helpers. We are like such an amazing team. Eric is a researcher. Mel can see where things and link things back. Eric goes in and fights. Mel goes in and fights. And I can tell them. I get the information. Go check here, go check there. So together we are undefeatable. Don't forget that, all of you coming at us. And Eric said this, and I say this too. You take me out, I am going to do more damage from the spiritual realm than I do in the physical realm. So either way, you can't win. But I want to backtrack. And the one night when Mel and I couldn't get a hold of Eric earlier in the evening, when Mel was trying to figure out what was attacking me, she was diverted and taken to Yuna, the woman who calls herself Yuna Scope, the Black woman who I flew to San Francisco, who lived in my house, that I treated as a friend, who came under the pretense of coming to help me. And I will let Mel tell you why she was taken to her and what happened, and we'll wrap with that because we're almost on an hour.
Yeah. Okay. So that particular time, actually, I was shown that she had something in her basement. and I was told that she had taken it from California and taken it and buried it in her basement in the hopes that it could not be discovered because their location was a different location. Okay, so I dismantled that. But I think what you're referring to is what happened before on another time.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, very, very fascinating. So, it was one of those times where I was really drawn to her again with regard to some of the things that are still happening with you. And poking, correct. And so I said to my spirit team, okay, guide me, show me where I need to go, right? So, and this time they took me to the ocean. So I stood at the ocean now. For your viewers to understand, I think you said, I don't know if you mentioned this on here before, but she had actually thrown in stuff, into the ocean.
Yeah. Yes. Coins.
Yeah, coins. Okay. Well, here's the thing. I stand there and I say, okay, what do I need to do? Okay, help me out here. And next thing I know, and this is going to sound strange, but we've talked about reptilians, we've talked about grays, we talk about dark magic. So why not talk about mermaids, right? So I, all of a sudden, I see these mermaids come up. Now, this is all in my mind's eye. This is all in the spiritual world. The mermaids come up and they look at me, and I said, do you know, can you help me? And there's only one at first, and she dives back down. She comes back up and hands me a coin. And then she goes back down, and then there was a couple other ones that come, and they all dive down and they hand me coins. And I thought to myself, they're collecting the coins that the woman with the black skin threw in the ocean. And I was surprised. So I had these coins. They gave me all of them that she had, whatever they took. And I literally, I stood there and I dismantled the energy and any kind of spell that was associated with these coins. Okay, there was a negative energy attached to it. And I actually, instead of taking them, I gave them back to the sea. Okay, I felt compelled to give it back to the sea, and they stayed there. But this time,
no. Before you threw them back, you were gonna just throw them back, and you were stopped. You remember your guide stopped you and said you have to clean them first.
Yeah, no, exactly. Of course, I that's what I just said. I went and I cleaned them. Correct. Yeah. I energetically cleaned them. I energetically cleansed them of what was there. And then I didn't know what to do with those coins. Should I just go take them somewhere? But I felt compelled to put them back. So, but the coins that were put back were energetically sound. They were fine. They didn't have any more negative energy on it. Okay. And, okay. Oh my goodness. They're telling me, tell them. Okay. Well, everybody thinks I'm already, so it doesn't really matter because it gets a little go crazier than this. So I go put the coins back in, and then I stand there and I'm like, okay, what is it what else do I need to do? And this was actually the time that I was taken to her house right after that. Again, after that happened, I went to her home again, and I bent down, and I was drawn to some container, and I did something with the container, and I cupped something that was alive. I couldn't tell at the moment what it was at that something was alive, and I cupped it like this in my hands, and I took it out of her home, and I brought it back to the sea, and I released it into the sea. And the moment I did, I recognized that it was a water spirit. So she had somehow captured a water spirit for her, dark ritualistic purposes, and kept it in whatever container or what that was, what I saw. And the moment I did this, the next thing I know, this figure rises up on the horizon out of the sea. And the best way I can describe it is, okay, here we go. Call me crazy, but it was Poseidon. Okay. The sea god Poseidon. All right. The kind that you see in Little Mermaid, those kinds. Yeah. Right. So, and he arose up and he looked at me, and I said to him, I was here trying to, cleanse some stuff, and can you help me find those things? And I tell you what, he all of a sudden, he didn't say a thing. All I remember was all of these dark cloud looking things just coming out of of the sea, and they were shooting straight for New York. And straight for Una's house, and all I could see was them, and enveloping her. They were just circling around her and like squeezing her. And I thought to myself, "Oh my, wouldn't want to be her right now, right?" And you had experienced a lot of poking at that very moment, and the moment this happened, it was gone, right? It stopped. Like, and so she was, yeah. So that's how we know that this is kind of attached to her, because at that very moment she was like literally taken out. For not permanently, but the stuff that all of the dark things that were in the sea were returned back to her. In other words, okay, it came back to her, because from what I gather is that she has been using the ocean a lot to facilitate her spells. And now, mind you, Una does hoodoo. Okay, so she doesn't do satanic things, but it's hoodoo. And hoodoo is like an African version, or from the islands, a form of voodoo. Okay, so just so we get a comparison there. So it's a little different than what we've been dealing with. But she's been using these spirits. She's been using the ocean, the water in particular, for her practices. And for some reason, the mermaid thing really shocks me to this day. Okay, because I mean, I didn't expect that. I went to the ocean. I was at the ocean thinking, okay, what am I going to do next? And then a little mermaid is sticking its hand out and say, hey, I can help you. So
Mel had not told me what was happening. All of a sudden I go, Mel, it stopped. And then she told me what had just happened. So
yeah,
clearly it was connected, because then I got some reprieve. And we will be back next week. Like I always say, I can't tell you with what, because every day is a different experience. Who knows? We would have been telling you Mel was hanging out with mermaids. So wait to see. Maybe next week it's snails. We'll just hang in there. We will be back. And thank you for not giving up on what we're bringing you, because I really believe there is something in every week's episode for someone. And I really hope so. Bye. See you soon.
Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.